In this video, we'll talk about how we can use Spring Boot in Java to create a REST API and also learn about different concepts and tools which Spring Boot provides to build a better application and build better web services. So, in this video, we'll talk about how we can create a Spring Boot project and also run a Spring Boot project and see the server running. So, the best part about Spring Boot is that you don't need a Tomcat server running separately and have a Java project connecting with it. Everything is provided by Spring Boot. All you have to do is know the basics of Java and some basics of Spring. So to continue or to watch this video, make sure that you have some basics of Java in your pocket and also some basics of Spring. You can find them in the Programming Knowledge channel. And once you're done with that, you can come ahead and start watching this video. So in this video, we'll talk about how we can create a Spring Boot project. So for that, the first thing which you need is an IDE. So the IDE which we're going to use for this video is Spring Tools Boot. So it's by or for Eclipse and it's completely open source. So go ahead and download the one which you have for your operating system. I have a Mac, so I had downloaded the Mac 64-bit Spring Tool Suite. And yeah, so once we are done with this, you can start following the tutorial. And so this is how your Spring Boot tools look like. So we'll be creating a REST service or a REST API. And this is going to be the hello world of REST API, which is going to be a to-do list API, where you can add tasks to your to-do list. You can delete them, you can update them. So you'll have all the CRUD operations, which is create, update, and delete. And we'll be building that using Java, Spring Boot, and we'll see how we can connect to the database, a MySQL database, and also see how we can work with REST services. So what is a model view controller, the MVC architecture, and how does that work? So we have a lot of cool things going to happen inside our tutorials. So keep watching and let's start first creating a Spring Boot project, which you can use to actually start building up on top of your Spring Boot application. So I have my Spring Boot Spring Tool Suite running, STS for short. And what we're going to do is we're going to start a new project. So it can be anything. It can be a Java project, a Spring Starter project. But the most easiest way or the most comfortable way I know to start one is to create a Maven project. So go to Other, click on Maven project, go to Next. And we'll be creating a simple project and we can build on top of that later. So we have a very simple project here. Go to Next, give it a group ID. So group ID is basically a name for what you want to do. So we'll just call it to-do list. To-do list. The artifact ID is going to be the same. And we'll let the version be 0.0.1 snapshot. Nothing against that. And the name is going to be again to-do list. No need to give a description here, and we'll add a parent later. So simple naming conventions to our project, a to-do list API. So we'll have it the name as to-do list. When we click on finish, and we have a to-do list project here. So as you can see, we haven't added anything to our project right now, but there's still a lot of things here. So we have a JRE system library, we have Java resources, test folder, a POM.xml. So we'll talk about what Maven is and what POM is. And before all of that, the one thing which I forgot to mention was that you need to have, which is unobvious, you need to have Java installed in your computer. So make sure that you have Java. So you can just do Java dash version and make sure that it's 1.8 or above. I don't know if there's another if there's a newer one than 1.8, but make sure that you have Java installed and you have it, and you can confirm it by running Java dash version. Great. So now that we have created our to-do list project, a Maven project. So Maven is basically a single point of repositories where you have all the jar files. So if you want to add any jar files to your project, add an API or add a framework or a jar, you can do that by using Maven, and especially this POM file. So the POM file basically acts as a way for you to download jars in your project by giving the POM file the name, the version number of the jar which you want, etc., etc. So this is how you actually do it. And we'll be filling up our POM file first. Make sure that we have all the things which we need to start our project. So let's start by doing that. So let me just quickly open the POM here. So first thing which we need is a parent tag. So I'll talk about this in a minute. So this is a parent XML tag, and the parent is basically Spring Boot starter parent. So this tag tells the project that the project is a child of the Spring Boot parent jar. So this tells the project that we'll be using Spring Boot, and this is a Spring Boot application which we're going to build. So again, group ID, artifact ID, the names, the version, etc., etc. And this is how we tell our project that this is a parent project or a child project of the parent, which is Spring Boot. Okay. The next thing which we need is simple dependencies. So dependencies are basically the jars which is going to help you get automatically installed in your project, and you can just use them directly. The first thing which we need is Spring Boot Starter Web. This is basically provides you with all sorts of annotations and functions which can help you quickly build a REST API or web services very easily. And after this, another thing which we need is the properties tag. Allocate some properties to our file. So we have properties Java version 1.8, as you guys know. Just hit refresh and make sure that everything is stable. And before we complete, the last thing which you need to do is basically update your project. So go to your project, right click on it, and go to Maven and click update project. Okay, just to make sure that your dependencies are downloaded and your POM files are ready, and to make sure that your properties is 1.8. Okay, so great. We have updated our Maven file, Maven project, a POM file. So POM file has three things. First is the parent, which is a Spring Boot starter parent. Next is dependencies, which is Spring Boot starter web, which gives you all sorts of annotations, functions. And the last thing is properties, which is the Java version, which you're going to use inside our project. Okay, the next thing which we need to do is create a starting point for our Spring Boot application, which basically runs the server. So once that is done, we'll actually have our server running on top on port 8080 localhost and see how that works. So let's start by doing that. Let's start doing that now. So in your src main Java, right here, you're going to create a new class, which is going to be to-do list. Let me just say to-do list. Yeah. So this particular class is going to be having a main function, main method, because this is the starting point of how we actually run our Spring Boot application. So click on finish, and we should be good to go. Give it a minute. And great. So now we have a to-do list starting point for our project, and all we need to do is just have a couple of annotations to actually run this. So to actually make this Java project a Spring Boot project, so make sure know that this is still a Java project. We have downloaded and installed the jars and dependencies which we need on the POM file, but we haven't actually used them. So it is still a Java project or a Maven project. So now what we do is make this a Spring Boot application. So for that we have some annotations. So first we do is Spring Boot application, and we import that. So if you just hover on top of it and you just do this, now this has officially become a Spring Boot application. And the next thing which you have to do is basically run it. So you say Spring Boot application dot run. So let me just quickly see what this was. I keep forgetting the syntax, so sorry about that. It's a Spring application, my bad. So we have booted it, so we just do Spring application dot run, and we have two arguments here for our run method. First is the source, basically which is going to ask us or tell the project where to run or what class to run. So we'll be running the to-do list.java file, the class. So we just say to-do list.class. and the arguments are going to be args which can be passed running the project right from here. So this is how we actually create or develop a Spring Boot project. Now let's run this and see what we get. So we'll be running it as a simple Java application because the annotations handle the Spring Boot part of it. So we don't have to worry about that. Press OK. And we just wait for a couple of minutes. So this should be showing on the bottom, but I have it on top because I think it's easier to see what's running and what's not. So you don't have to worry about that. So now when you scroll here, you see that the Tomcat has started on port 8080. So we can go here, go to 8080, click enter, and so we get a white label error page. So basically, we just ran a server, so we don't have anything yet on the server. And when there's nothing, Spring Boot goes to the error/error page. And as there is no explicit mapping for the error page, you see this as fallback. This is a default by Spring Boot. So don't worry, you haven't done anything wrong yet. It's perfectly working. The Spring Boot server is on, and you have a web service already there. The server is up without anything, any much effort. All you have to do is now keep adding stuff to it so that this becomes a fully fledged REST application. So that's it for this video. In this video, we talked about how you can actually create a Spring Boot project efficiently, and in the next video, we'll talk about how we can create or implement a REST controller using Spring Boot and keep continuing this tutorial. So just to reiterate on what we had done since the beginning, first we install Spring Toolsuite for Eclipse, open source, anything works here. Next, you create a new project. So go to File, New, go to Other, and create a Maven project. After you're done with that, go to your pom.xml, and let me just close this. Yeah, go to your pom.xml and add the Spring Boot starter parent as your parent ID, and add the dependencies of Spring Boot starter web, and make sure that your Java properties are 1.8 so that this is ready to actually start building up your Spring Boot application. So yeah, this is it for the video. We'll be building more on top of our to-do list REST API using Spring. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.